everyone. Welcome to the Moms on a Mission podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, our three pillars are to educate, awake, and activate. And I say it all the time, but it's so important that we become fully educated before we can help protect our children and save our nation. I know sometimes we see things in the news and we just want to bury our head in the sand and just think, well, I can't do anything, but we can. We all can do something. If we choose, we can do something every single day to protect our children and save our nation. And one of the things I wanted to do today was have on our guest, Geordan Roberts. He started this company called Grid Down Chow Down with his brother, and it's a freeze-dried meat company. And they were originally just making this for themselves in their homes, for their own family, because we all remember going to the store and them running out of toilet paper or meat or chicken or what have you. And what an awful feeling that was. And he did not like it either. So he just started making this meat, they did, for their own family. And then it organically grew. They had folks asking for them to make it for them as well. And so they started this company, Grid Down Chow Down. And you know, in the Bible, it says in Proverbs 6:6-8, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. And I think there's just a lot of wisdom there. Proverbs is one of the books of wisdom. And I think there is a lot of wisdom in preparing for whatever comes down the pike and stockpiling some of this so that we won't be scared, but we will be prepared. And if you're not following us on Rumble, just download the Rumble app, type in Moms on a Mission at the top, and then click the follow icon. You'll never miss a show. We can't upload to all platforms. Some of them are censored. So if you download Rumble and you follow us there, you'll see every single show. Geordan Roberts, thank you so much for joining me again on the Moms on a Mission podcast. It's great to have you back.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing tonight?
I am great. Thank you. So Geordan, you own Grid Down Chow Down with your brother. I have some here with me. I have some at home and I have it here in the studio with me at all times. Yeah. Oh, say we're matching. Yes. I love it. So for folks who may not have met you before, if you could just give a brief intro of who you are and what you all do.
Yeah, so I'm Geordan Roberts with Grid Down Chow Down. Back during the early part of COVID, when no one knew what was going on, we've always been in manufacturing. My dad started a manufacturing business over 40 years ago. So we did subcontract work for people like the United States military, Boeing, Raytheon. So we manufacture parts for those people. During this time of the great toilet paper shortage, we were like, okay, we need to try to figure out, we see how delicate the system is, and we need to try to figure out a way that we can start making sure that our family has a plan in place and food in place for if things get worse. And so that was kind of our whole journey of Grid Down Chow Down. It was never meant to be a business model or anything like that. It was purely out of a selfish need to survive or to preserve the family, And so we started going down a journey of building greenhouses. So we built greenhouses for people like Pastor Dave Scarlett, Clay Clark, a bunch of different people that wanted greenhouses. So
I did not know that until just right now.
Yeah.
You built Bears greenhouses. Wow.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where we've always done manufacturing. And Clay was like, hey, Geordan, can you build me a greenhouse? I was like, well, I'm sure I can, Clay. I mean, it's not what I do, but I can figure it out, And so basically I came up with the whole design and how to make this a scalable project. It's just one of those things where everybody doesn't need a greenhouse. So it's not like a super scalable business model or anything, but it gives people options. And I'm glad that we got to do that. And we still do that for people that want it, we did it for ourselves first. And that's kind of where Clay was like, hey, can you build me a greenhouse? We're like, yeah, sure. And then that turned into Clay was like, why don't you start building them for other people? I was like, well, I guess we can, And so we built them for Pastor Dave and Clay and some, a bunch of other people. So we went, all the way to Texas, to other places. I mean, people literally wanted us to travel all over the United States because people were concerned about getting food. And so anyways, that took us down a different journey, which was like, okay, well, now that we can grow vegetables all year long, now what about our meat? So how can we figure out a way to preserve meat? What are the options? Canning, dehydrated, so we kind of went down this journey and we decided, hey, let's try freeze drying. So we started freeze drying for our own family. So we bought like a bunch of cows and we just started freeze drying for our own family. And then, so as we were kind of telling people like, hey, this is what we're doing, we're all excited about it. People were like, well, I want some too. And so we're like, oh, well, I guess maybe this is a thing. I don't know. Like we just did it for ourselves. And so other people, friends and family, and then different, we have tooling reps and stuff that come, and see us all the time. And so we just kind of mention some things that we're doing. And they're like, I need this. How do I buy some? We're like, okay, well, maybe we need to look at maybe offering, options up for other people that are needing this as well. And so I remember going into Costco at one point and getting kicked out because I didn't have a mask on. And so I basically got kicked out of Costco by a 16-year-old, cash register, guy. And
You
it
know
has
it.
no idea. He doesn't even know what he's going to do for the rest of his life, and I get kicked out. He won't take my money. And so I was like, okay, we got to figure something out. And that's kind of how we landed up here. And so now our whole thing now is just using this as kingdom business is just like, I think time is short. And I think, God's people, when they get put in a certain situation, especially without options, they might make decisions that they wouldn't make in order to protect their family. What good parent wouldn't sacrifice themselves even just to make sure their kids were okay and that their kids could eat. And, the Bible talks about that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Well, it's like we get so distracted in the hustle and bustle of life and the hamster wheel that sometimes we forget to do some of the things that are most important. I believe that we've bought into this lie of that we should have a life of convenience. Like all of a sudden, no one knows how to farm anymore. No one knows how to raise their own animals. No one knows how to butcher their own animals. No one knows how to preserve any food. And so you have this society, basically like this Amazon Prime society to where you're used to 2-day shipping. We don't even have the patience to wait more than a couple of days or we freak out, It's like a microwave society. And so I believe like we're literally one generation away from a lot of people losing the ability or losing knowledge from their grandparents. My grandparents were farmers and then his dad. So, but a lot of that we've gotten away from that to where now everybody's sitting on a computer and on a keyboard and they're TikToking and they're making videos and they're social media influencers. So like no one has real jobs anymore. No one's actually making anything. We literally sent most of our products and things that we make overseas and we taught other people how to make them for us. So you have places like Detroit, that used to be a massive hub for manufacturing and now it's just a ghost town, so you have all kinds of stuff like that to where the United States isn't really in a great spot. I think the supply chain is very fragile. I think things could happen very, very fast and an accelerated pace whenever the people that really pull the strings decide, okay, now's a good time to do it. And so we just decided to do this for ourselves and also offer this up for people that are like-minded, that are looking for a good source of beef that they can trust and they know that there's nothing in it. The reason I know this is because that's what I want for me and for my family. That's what we did for our family. It's grass-fed, grass-finished, freeze-dried. It's raw ground beef. So all you do is you add cool water back to it. In 10 to 15 minutes, it's completely rehydrated, like you just bought a pound of burger meat at the grocery store, and you're able to do whatever you want to with it. So it's raw. It's not dehydrated like beef jerky. It's freeze dried. It'll last 10 to 15 years in your storm shelter, your basement, underneath your bed. It could be in your pantry. I think you have a little spot in your pantry.
I
It's all
do.
nice and organized.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's right at eye level, so I can grab it when I do use other meat, but I
Right.
love that I can use them interchangeably. And if I forget to defrost some meat, I can have it right there. And you left out one thing that is incredibly important to me, and I think to others too, is that this is not injected meat, so it doesn't have
Yeah.
any
Yes.
vaccines in them. And I think it's really important to note that it's not required for folks to label their meat or chicken or fish or whatever it is. They're not required to label and tell us that it's been injected. So we have no idea because legally it's not required. And of course,
Right.
they're not going to offer that information up. So I love that you can say that this is uninjected and it has the whole cow. So you have
Right.
filet, tenderloin. And I think that's what's so interesting. You think, oh, freeze dried. And especially if you hear the word prepper, you think, oh, it's not going to taste good. And we were talking before the show. I have a friend who bought this and I'm like, isn't it amazing? Doesn't it taste great? And she's like, I haven't tried it. I'm kind of afraid to try it. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's steak meat. It's amazing. I think just the first time it feels a little bit like a
Right.
science experiment. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen? But once you use it one time, and really the deal is once you taste it and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, it tastes like you're eating a steak, then it's just done at that point. You love it and you're going to use it all the time.
Right. And so you don't have to put this in the refrigerator. So like I remember when we were first talking, you're like, I was gonna buy one of those big deep freeze,
That's right.
and it takes up a lot of room. And then you found this, is like, now I don't have to do it anymore.
No, no,
And
I didn't
so
really want to buy one anyway. I didn't want to deal with that.
right,
And I think you and your brother were talking about the fact that sometimes you fill that up and then you don't use half of it and the
right,
screws are burned and you waste money with that too. And that's the nice thing about this. I mean, you can just gradually start stockpiling it and you don't have to worry like, oh, I need to get it, get it eaten by the end of the year, which I
right.
would love for you to talk about the subscription program that you have with this. I think that's a
Mhm.
nice way to start stockpiling it.
Yeah, and if it will, like, and whenever you talk about a freezer, when people think about freezers, like, man, I could put like a year's worth or a cow in there. It's like, well, that's great, but when power goes out, and like in Oklahoma, I've had times where my house has been out for a week, during an ice storm, so everything you had in the freezer, in the fridge, it's all gone. So all that investment, and you can fit a lot of money into a freezer. So you don't have to worry about it being in the freezer. It's completely safe. It's a great investment. I know you've been doing things and other people have been doing things like, putting some money into gold and to
Mhm.
silver. But I think this is even a great way too, because number one, the price of beef is never going to be cheaper than it is right now. You're going to be able to use it for the next 15 years. So as beef prices rise, you literally lock your price in, and you don't have to lose that. So anytime you want to, you can start eating this meat, down the road. So I think it's a great investment for people. I know people are putting money into things that go pow pow and things, gold and silver. And I think those are all great things, but I think you got to look at the whole thing, the whole spectrum. Yeah, I love gold and silver because it's a great place to put your money, but also you can't eat it. So I think this is another avenue that people should definitely look at.
I like how
And
you're
then
saying that because you're almost, well, you are hedging against inflation with food.
right, right.
That's a really great point.
Yeah, because I mean, you got, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but you got the bridges that got hit. I think multiple, like three of them now.
Yeah,
Back in
one in our
COVID,
home state in Oklahoma just a few years
right?
ago.
I think there was back in COVID, there was like 18 factories that either burnt down, got hit by a plane, or someone tossed a cigarette out. Whatever. Then you have Texas that lost over 1 million acres, and I think it was like, I can't remember how many thousands of cows. But what you're going to see is you're going to see an increase because of the supply chain shortage, and so all of a sudden, what used to be X amount of dollars per pound is going to rise, and
Yeah.
it just is. From COVID to now, I mean, if you go to Taco Bueno or anywhere here locally, you see that things have doubled, if not tripled, in prices since then, and it's just going to keep getting higher. That's just the nature of the beast that we're fighting against. And then you said what now?
If you could talk about the subscription program.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we have a subscription program set up to where if you want to. So I just got off of a TV show with somebody the other day, and he wrote a book. I think it was called the minute after, or 5 minutes after, or whatever. But he talked about an EMP attack on the United States of America and what that would look like. He said basically that 90% of America would die within that first year because of a lot of different scenarios, whether it be diseases, because of foodborne illnesses, because of whatever. Right.
For those who
Um,
may not know EMP, for the audience, could you describe that?
yeah, so that's like an electromagnetic pulse to where it fries everything electric. So all of our water, it's not driven by gravity usually, unless you're by, a tower, but it's usually driven by pumps. So you lose electric, you lose the ability to pump water into your house. Within a couple of days, uh, without electric, you're not getting gas, right? So everything's going to shut down. There'll be no food coming into the city or into the town. So within a couple of days, everything's going to be gone. You think people were mad when they went into Walmart and they couldn't get toilet paper. I mean, just think about how upset people are going to be when they can't get something to eat for their family. So, I mean, you start looking at like a pretty intense scenario pretty quickly, and it doesn't take very long. I mean, it just kind of shows how fast things can happen. We saw that during COVID, where all of a sudden businesses were closed, businesses were shut down. I knew businesses that shut down. They're like, oh my gosh, in order to reopen, it's going to cost me $40,000 because I got to rebring in all this food just to stock up our kitchen again. I was like, oh my goodness, like they'll put some. I mean, Zio's a prime example here in Tulsa. They went out of business
That
and
was
they were
so
great.
sad. It was my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah. So it's just like you like businesses literally died during that. And you saw how fast and how quickly things happened, whether it was you couldn't get toilet paper, you couldn't travel, you couldn't, whatever, you couldn't go into the hospital. Me and my wife had a baby at that time. So that was kind of a crazy time going to the hospital at that time. Um, but I mean, prices are just going to keep raising up. But I forgot what your
Oh,
initial question was.
just the subscription.
Yeah. So we have a subscription plan for people, whether they want to set it up monthly for, let's just say 24 servings or 36 servings, 96 servings. But what I was going to say with the guy that wrote that book, he recommends that you have at least 1 month supply for yourself. So per person, he said it's better if you have 3 months, and you got to think about water. You got to think about medication. So if you have any type of special medication, you got to be looking ahead if that's going to be something that's difficult to get. Like people that had diabetes during that time had a really hard time getting their medication. So you got to look at medication, you got to look at medical supplies, you got to look at water, you got to look at food, all these different things. But you want to look at least a month, if not 3 months ahead. So if you look at our subscription plan, you're like, well, how much would I need for me? So if you do 96 servings, that would last one person over a month, about a month, depending on how much you eat, how big you are, and all that. But we have it set up to, I think, from 4 servings all the way up to 96 servings. Whether you want to replace the meat that you're currently getting, from the store, just gets drop shipped to your house, or if you want to just slowly start stockpiling every month to where you have some type of reserve.
What is the most popular meal that people are making with Grid Down Chow Down beef?
Meal, I think people are doing a lot of like ground beef type dishes, whether it's tacos, chili, um, spaghetti, stuff like that. It's really easy,
Yeah.
really fast. But you can also do burgers, meatballs, meatloaf. I do a lot of hamburger patties, like steak patties. I'm on the carnivore diet, so I make a lot of just patties and just throw a fried egg on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of cut it up like a steak. But that's kind of what everybody's doing. People are getting really creative with it, but I'm not super creative as far as, when I do it, I just mainly do either tacos or burgers.
And I do
But it's
tacos and chili with it.
okay.
Yeah.
But as far as people, we see a wide range of people. You see a lot of older people that are wise, that are like, hey, I want to make sure that me and my husband have stuff. Or you have people that are like, I'm buying for my entire family, like a family of 10. Or you have people that are like, I'm buying for my entire neighborhood. I'm going to have enough right here that I can support my local area. That way, when things get crazy, I'm a safe place. They can come over here. We'll take care of them. You have churches stepping up because they know, when things happen, they're going to be the hospital, they're going to be the storehouse for people. And you know what? It's going to be a great time for people to introduce people to Jesus because they're hungry, they're starving, and they thought ahead, which they should. Because if you've ever read the Bible, you see that it gets a little bit worse, maybe a lot worse before Jesus comes back. And in the meantime, we still have to eat. So it's a great time to be able to introduce people to Jesus by having food and supplies on hand at the hospital, which is the church. So I think churches are starting to see, like I think people sometimes live naively thinking that, God's just going to protect them. But a lot of times God protects us in ways maybe we don't understand. It's like this one person, I can't remember this analogy, but they're like, hey, I think there was a big flood or something coming. And he heard on the radio, hey, big flood coming, got to get out of here. He's like, well, I'm not going to get out of here. God's going to protect me, yada, yada. And then a guy comes down and knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, there's a flood coming. You need a ride? He's like, no, I don't need a ride. God's going to protect me. And then, the flood comes. He's on top of his roof, and the boat comes by. He's like, hey, man, do you need help? He's like, no, 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 God, I'm waiting on God. He's coming. And he ends up dying, and he goes to heaven. He's like, God, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you provide a way? And I was like, dude, I literally told you on the radio. I sent a fire marshal by. I sent a guy on a boat. There was a guy on a helicopter that tried to save you. So it's like God gave us a brain. We know what's in the end of the book, and He's preparing us now. I think a lot of people feel that something's coming, and a lot of people are taking measures to protect themselves, because I think they know that if they get to a point, I think there's going to be a lot of people that don't prepare, that don't protect themselves, that don't have some type of plan in action. And they'll probably end up being the people that are like, I'm starving, I'm hungry. And they end up, whether they denounce Christ or they take the mark or whatever that is literally like if they would have been prepared, they wouldn't have made those choices. So I think this is a great product for people to start preparing now. It's not super expensive, and you can do it monthly, just a little bit at a time, and you just set it and forget it. It's just going to show up, and you just start making a pile of it. Or you just replace everything you're eating, and you eat really healthy now too. So you can eat it later, you can eat it now. Either way, it's a great product for churches, disaster relief, hiking, fishing, whatever.
Yeah, I like the name Grid Down Chow Down. It just makes me think of getting off the grid. And that's what is so important, having access to meat when the grocery store, I actually went into a store and saw not only no toilet paper, but no meat, no chicken, no nothing.
Right.
The whole entire side of the store was empty. And that was incredibly nerve-wracking. I just could not believe it was almost like a dream or a movie or a really bad
Right.
one. And so when you introduced this, I was incredibly interested in stockpiling and then, of course, using it for certain items now because it is 95% fat free and
Yeah.
it is steak meat. So it's the best of the best. It's clean, it's uninjected, and it's low, low, low fat. I never have seen anything 95% fat free in the store. So I do love that. And what is so interesting to me, Jordan, is that you are not the only entrepreneur through this season where God gave you this idea and you created this God idea for your family. And then you shared it with others. Once people started asking, I have another couple who's on here and they make devices and items to protect against EMF, electromagnetic
Okay.
frequencies. And they were very sick themselves. And so they made these products for themselves and got so much better. And so now they start selling them and really helping the globe with it. And I just think that's so neat. It's a ministry, really, that God's given you this idea for yourself and then you're willing to share it with others. And so before we go, I did want to talk about the cargo ship hitting the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland. And of course, it wasn't hauling food, but you just think about that. That Eastern corridor is such a massive connector. And we look at the West Coast, that corridor is even larger. But I think when I first heard about this, I thought, oh, it's Baltimore, it's a bridge. Not that it was okay at all, it's tragic, but I
Yeah.
just didn't understand the significance of that happening. And when I thought about it, I thought, man, that really could happen with our food as well. I mean, there could be, and though these incidences can affect the supply chain as well, the passage now they have to go around that area and things are going to take more
Right.
time to get delivered. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I think when I first heard of it, I didn't look too deep until some people started saying some stuff. I was like, oh, there's a lot to unpack here. Probably a lot more than I even have time to figure out, and to try to find the truth. I think that's the thing that everybody struggles with now is like there's so much information coming from here and there that we're trying to just figure out what the truth is. And sometimes it gets a little crazy. I feel like, I think people tend to like screw that. I'm not going to listen to the news anymore because it's depressing. But I think when you look at that one, there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of significance there, probably beyond what we can ever even understand because we're not the people pulling the strings there. But yeah, I mean, they were very quick to say that prices are going to rise, because it's going to slow down, people traveling and transportation, all that stuff. So I think, they're just preparing you, it's like, where you, uh, I call that, whenever COVID happened and you see similarities in movies and stuff, it's almost like you're being, I call it passive truths, to where they're telling you what they're going to do, like things are happening. We're just going to get you prepared so that when it happens, you don't freak out and lose your crap. So I think they're like, hey, just so you know, price is going to rise. It's just one of those things. So where you don't have like an uprising and people don't freak out, they're just going to let you know, just, hey, this is just going to happen. There's going to be a beef shortage. There's a fire in Texas. All of Texas just burnt down. Beef is going to go way up through the roof. And they're just letting you know, like, so that people aren't freaking out. It's
They're
just one of those things.
desensitizing you. They're
Right. Yeah.
desensitizing you.
Right. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening there, but it just shows how fragile the system is. And so I just think people should just, it's better to be prepared, and not need it than to need it and not be prepared. I think the luck favors the prepared, not that you have to be a doomsday prepper or anything by any means. Because one, I mean, worst case scenario, you buy this meat, you lock in the price of meat. It's only going to rise up from now. So, you maximize the value of your dollar if anything happens, just like buying gold at this point, except for you can eat this, you can probably trade this for gold,
Yeah,
so
probably could.
I think it's a great thing to have. I mean, you have things like, I mean, we just had a big tornado alert here the other night. Everything shut down. People were leaving. So it's just like, I feel like the economy is in like a, a like a weak mental state to where it's like, we're in Oklahoma. Where were we? We were in Branson the other day, me and my brother for a show. And they're like, "Hey guys, just so you know, I thought like, hey, this is going to be a big thing happen." Like they come running over to us, and I'm like, "Oh, what happened? Is the building on fire?" And they're like, "Hey, so there's a tornado, and I just want to let you know." I'm like, "Okay, is that it, or what's?" They're like, "Yeah," and I was like, "I'm from Oklahoma. I don't care." Like I'm gonna sleep fine tonight. Trust me.
In fact, I'm going to go out on my front porch
Yeah,
and
I'm
watch
gonna go
it.
watch it. Yeah, yeah,
That's what they
exactly.
do.
Yeah, so it's like, but I think the economy is just kind of weak minded towards just like, oh my gosh, they're talking about tornadoes, we're shutting down. So like all the YMCA's shut down, so all my kids had practice and stuff that night, and so all this stuff was canceled. Whether it's dance practice and YMCA basketball practice, like everything's shut down, stores shut down. I'm like, that's so crazy. But it's just kind of the what we're living in now. And you have the eclipse coming up on the 8th, so you have people like already panicking, panic buying things, and so, it's kind of like the Y2K all over again. I don't remember if you remember that
Yes,
whole
I
thing,
do. I do.
and it's like, the Mayan calendar, the world's going to end, all this stuff, but it's like, eventually things are going to come to a head. But if you're prepared and you've already made some steps. I mean, I have house insurance, I have car insurance. I think this is a great way to have food insurance for you and for your family. That way, you know that you are safe, that you have options. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to be worried. God's our provider. Uh, he's provided this for our family, and we're opening it up to other people's families. So he's providing. God's in control. But if you don't like, if you don't listen to the spirit and you don't see something coming, you're going to find yourself like, oh man, I wish I would have paid attention. I wish I would have done something, but you can't prepare after things have already happened. So, don't be scared, be prepared. God's in control. And no, we're really excited for this product. The lead times are really far down. I think I just told you, we just got back from Utah. We bought a bunch of new equipment. It's actually getting installed today. I had the electricians here, getting everything ready. We just signed a lease for our second building, so we're just growing like crazy, and it's all thanks to the partners that are helping and supporting. So
I just love how it's a win-win. Yes, you are making money off this. Yes, you're making money to help your family, just like other people have companies and have jobs and businesses where they can take care of their families, but you're also providing something that's so needed right now.
yeah,
I
and
wanted
I'm
to
I'm I'm just gonna tell you, I've literally made no money yet on this whole deal. Actually, I've put a lot of my own money in it. All we're doing is focused on growing, and then like one day there'll be time to where we start having a harvest. But right now we're not even focused on that. We're just focused on growing and trying to get lead times down to where other people have stockpiles and other people have options for them and for their family. So hopefully one day I will get paid, but
you better.
right now we're just focused on growing. And so everything we make, we're just pushing back into the business at this point. So
That's great. Well, I wanted to
yeah.
share my screen so I could show
Oh,
everybody
perfect.
where to go to
Yeah.
find this meat. So griddownchowdown.com. If you use the code mission, you get 5% off. And so this website I love because first of all, you have this awesome video here so you can see how to hydrate it with, I believe you said 10 ounces of water. Is that correct?
Yeah. If you're going to do burgers, 10 ounces is like the magical number per pound. If you're going to do ground beef, you can just cover it up, let it soak and hydrate, and then you can just pour off the excess water.
Yeah, this is pretty cool right here. So it says 10 to 15 year shelf life, grass fed, grass finished, no mRNA vaccines. That's
Right.
my big thing there. Freeze drying process retains all nutrients.
Mhm.
And I just, it's airtight, it's lightweight. I think in a previous discussion or podcast, we talked about how you can just shove a ton of these in your backpack and the weight is just so light compared to
Yeah.
hydrated meat.
Yeah. If you have 24 pounds of meat in your bag, it weighs like 6 pounds. So it weighs
That's
nothing.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and if you watch that video, it's a really good video. It just breaks it down step by step of how to do it. It's really simple, and it doesn't have lab meat, in it. It doesn't have
Oh,
bug
yeah.
protein,
Bill
all that
Gates
stuff.
has
Yeah,
not touched this
yeah,
meat. That should
that's
make you
right.
want to buy it right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wasn't eating meat for a while, and then I heard Laura Logan say this, and I hadn't really said this to anyone, but she said that she used to be a vegan, and then when Bill Gates told her to stop eating meat, she figured I'm going to do the opposite of
I'm
what
gonna do
he
the I'm
says.
gonna do the exact opposite of what that
Yeah,
guy
so
just did.
that's what I did.
Yeah,
I wasn't eating meat for a little bit, but then I was like, if he says to stop eating meat, I probably should be eating it. So this is what I wanted to go over, what our customers say. And
yeah,
I just think referrals and reviews are really important because when somebody makes it, they're very comfortable with the product and they eat it all the time and they make it, they will make money at some point on it. And so I think really reviews are so powerful because these are just regular people who buy this to Grid Down Chow Down to prepare for whatever's coming down the pike. And I just love this one review. They said, OMG, the flavor though. And this person said, I've made it several times and no one can tell it wasn't fresh. Actually, I get compliments on how good it is. Go get you some. And so I just love that because I would do that all the time with my family. I'll make different chili recipes all the time and see, which one they like. And one time I actually did put in fake meat. I was just curious if they could tell. And because I changed the chili recipe so much, they couldn't tell. I thought it tasted horrible. It was a brand that I didn't care for. It was awful. And so they didn't notice until at the end I said, so what'd y'all think of the chili? And they're like, well, it was kind of different. But and then I told them it was fake meat and they're like, oh, we thought it was disgusting. And I was like, wait, you guys said it was fine. But I guess what I'm trying to say is with this, it actually tastes better because you're giving your family steak meat. So I
right.
think that's really cool that it's 95% fat free. And as a mom, a busy mom, I'm on the fly coming home and I didn't prepare and have meat thawed out. It's so nice that it's ready to go in 10 minutes. And
Right.
sometimes when you're defrosting in the microwave, like some of it gets cooked, some of it doesn't, and it's just a pain. And that's why I love this. In 10 minutes, it's hydrated and there's none of it's cooked and it's just ready to go. So what
I
a
I
blessing it
have
is.
I have some people that we end up calling or trying to get a hold of and trying to track them down. And it's crazy because you talked about being off grid, right? We have some people that don't have a phone, that don't have an email, so they literally walk to their neighbors, borrow their phone, use their email address, and order this product. Like, how did you even hear about this product in the first place? And so then when we finally call someone back, it's like their neighbor is like, yeah, Bob down the street, he walked up, he's off grid, he doesn't have a phone number, he does, he doesn't have an email. And it's like that's really what people are doing. So it's really impressive that this is impacting people like way off grid. It's awesome.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for saying yes to God and really caring
Yeah.
about other people other than just your family. You could have just, you have plenty of businesses. It's not
Right.
like you need another job, another
Right.
business, if you will. And you guys do great at all your other ones. But I really want to say thank you because what a blessing you are to the nation, really, and helping us prepare for the future. So thank you for
Oh,
making
right.
Down Chow Down.
Just real quick, I was going to share this with you. In Isaiah 3, it talks about how when the Lord's enemies rise to shake the earth, his enemies will crawl into holes in the ground. They will hide in caves in the rocks from terror of the Lord. And it kind of reminds me of things that are happening right now, right? Where you got all these billionaires building bunkers underground. But you know what? They can't hide, and neither can we. I think the most important thing that we can do to prep is if you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, he's the most important thing. Like the meat's awesome, right? Jesus is the best insurance that you can have. If you don't know him, confess with your mouth, believe in your heart that he's Lord, and he will make you into a new creation. And so I think that's the most important message from us is that he loves you, he's got a plan for you, and he made a way for you. So, but thank you for having us on.
And when he says us, he's talking about his brother. He could not be here. I meant to say
Yeah.
that earlier in the show. The empty chair is his brother. That's where he normally sits. So I call him the bearded brothers because he has
Yeah.
an impressive beard as well. So when he says us, that's what he's talking about. So thank you, Geordan, so much.
Yes.
Appreciate you and your brother and Grid Down Chow Down so much. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you. You have a good one.
And so don't forget, griddownchowdown.com code
Yes.
mission. You'll get 5% off, griddownchowdown.com code mission. And thank you so much for listening today. As always, we always encourage you to follow us on Rumble. We're on all streaming platforms, but we get censored and get booted off a few of them. So if you just download the Rumble app, type in Moms on a Mission at the top, and then click the follow icon, you'll never miss a show. So thank you for being here today, and God bless. In light of recent bank volatility and skyrocketing inflation, diversification is a must. That's why I use my good friend Andrew Sorcini at Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Beverly Hills Precious Metals makes it so easy to diversify. I personally ordered some silver and it arrived on my doorstep just a few days later. They make it so easy. And if you're not ready to do that and you just want to ask a few questions, they're there for you too. I personally got some silver and also am rolling over some of my IRA. You can actually roll over your IRA and have it be backed by silver and gold. So if you don't have any extra money to invest in silver and gold, rolling over a 401k or an IRA, or even part of it, if you just want to try it at first, just for a little bit, you can do that as well. So go to bh-pm.com today and ask all your questions. You can connect with somebody. And like I said, you can just get some information at first if you want and pray about it, and then get back with them to roll over part of your IRA or all of it, or order some gold and silver. That's bh-pm.com. and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your Full Moon Protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using MISSION at checkout to benefit Moms on a Mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.